Hey, happy Friday. It's a great day to be almost retired. I may have gotten myself a little project. So what we have here is a 1972 Chevy C10 Stepside. So I've always kind of been a car guy without a car. Going back to my childhood, the street that we lived on, there were always what are now classic cars going up and down the street. Chevelles, Camaros, Novas. When I was my mid-teens, about the time that I got my license, there were a bunch of high school kids in and around the neighborhood that were always fixing up these cars that I loved. And I always admired them. I always thought that it was pretty awesome that they just jumped right in and started working on these things. And truth be told, the idea of working on a car and not knowing exactly the mechanics and the theory behind how engines worked intimidated me. I took auto shop for 2 years in high school, and auto shop was the first part of the day every day, and so I would go in and basically get on a creeper and sleep underneath a car. I wasn't the best high school student, that's just who I was. Anyway, I didn't take the opportunity to really learn much. I mean, I learned basics and a little bit of welding and some mechanical stuff, so I always had that kind of as a baseline. So early on in my career, I was part of a team that would install conveyor systems, large conveyor systems, and I did the electrical on them, but I was around millwrights and other steel workers for 7 years. So watching what they did and picking their brain. Obviously, watching isn't the same as doing, but I did learn a lot about mechanical stuff. So fast forward a little bit, family, job, just never really had the opportunity to own something like this. And one of my recent dreams or goals was to pick up a Chevy 350 engine and tear it down and rebuild it. And it was just curiosity, just to see if it was something that I could do. So I started looking around for a 350, and this particular deal popped up. It was the 72 Chevy C10 Stepside with a 350 in it, and it was a deal that I couldn't pass up. The body, with the exception of the rockers and the doors, the body is pretty straight, pretty rust-free as far as I can tell. There may be some Bondo that I can't see, but for the most part, my magnet test shows that it's pretty much metal. You could see that somebody tried to French the taillights, or started to French the taillights, and I don't know if these rear fenders are stock or if they got them off another truck, but they're pretty solid. I don't like that Frenched taillight look, so I'm going to have to take care of those holes. When I went to check the truck out at the guy's house, the engine was running really rough. He started it up. There aren't any mufflers on this. It's pretty much straight pipe all the way back, and it was loud and it was really rough. But it sounded strong. It sounded like, it didn't sound broken, it just sounded not tuned. So anyway, I got it home, pulled it on a trailer home, and my son started it while it was on the trailer and shut it off, and about an hour later I tried to pull it off the trailer and it wouldn't start back up, and nothing that I did could get it started again. So the next day, my neighbor, who has raced cars, came over and helped me get it started. And the fix was, this truck came with a 4-barrel Holley carburetor, and my neighbor loaned me a 2-barrel carburetor that he used for racing. We found that the engine had a vacuum leak and the distributor was a little bit off. It started right up, and man, it fires up and it sounds nasty in a good way. The kind of nasty that I love. The bonus to all of this is that while I was checking the engine out, the guy was telling me, yeah, I have this part for it and this part for it. But then he went over to the corner of his shop and he said, I also have this engine block that I'm not doing anything with and don't need it. So he threw in another engine block. Well, I looked up the engine codes for both of these engine blocks. The one in the truck is a 1972 350 4-bolt, and I think that it said it's rated for 165, or it came from the factory with 165 horsepower. The engine block they threw in was a 1970 Chevy 350 4-bolt that was rated for, I want to say 225, somewhere around there. So I kind of got the best of both worlds. Originally, I wanted to build an engine. Then this truck came up and I fell in love. And now I have an engine that runs in a truck. I also have an engine block that I now can build. So the truck itself starts great, but it does not stop. It has 4-wheel drum brakes. The 2 seals in the back leak. The guy had extra seals for him, so I need to rebuild those. But it has drum brakes in the front, and I'm not a fan of that. So I'm going to order a disc brake conversion kit for it, at the same time adding power brakes. Part of the other problem that we saw when we initially started this is that the fuel tank in the back, it's not rotted through, but it definitely has a lot of garbage inside of it. So I'm going to pull that fuel tank out and get a fuel cell and put it in the bed of the truck instead of the gas tank behind the front seat. So one of the things that I needed to do first was get this engine block out of the bed of the truck. So I tried to find some engine stands, and I happened to find a guy who had 2 engine stands. Went to pick those up, and what a fantastic dude, man. The one thing that I've learned already is that the motorhead, gearhead, I don't know what you want to call it, that community is just awesome. My neighbor, who I said has raced cars, he said, when I came home and told him the story that I'm about to tell you, he said, that's the one thing about this community, is that when you need help, the people are there to help you. They really take their time to give you advice, help you get things running, and in a short week I've found that. So I'm over picking up these engine stands, telling the guy what I plan to do, and one thing that I didn't mention is this truck came from the factory with an automatic transmission, and somebody down at some point converted it to a 4-speed manual. I want Angie, I don't mind it being a manual, but Angie wants to be able to drive this, and she does not drive a stick, so I was looking for an automatic transmission. Well, the guy who I bought the engine stands from said, what are you looking for? And I said, a Turbo 350, and he said, hey, I happen to have one. So he brings me over to this transmission that's sitting on a bench, and that thing is clean. He said that he bought it from a guy, just side note, this gentleman that I went and bought these engine stands from, he had a 1970 Chevelle SS with an engine that he had built. I think he said it was like 650 horsepower or something. And I apologize if you ever watch this if I'm getting the story wrong, but it was a big, big engine. So he bought this transmission from a guy who had it in his 1932 Ford that was that had a $20,000 engine in it. He drove it with this transmission for about 10,000 miles and pulled it out. It was completely rebuilt, and from what I remember, he told me that it was rated for some pretty good horsepower. Not huge, but pretty good. More than this truck has. So I went ahead and paid $100 for it. So I also have a transmission that I'm going to be swapping out at some point in this. So brakes, transmission, I need to get some seats that feel a little bit safer. Want to get some harnesses because the seat belts in this are garbage. Get the fuel cell in the back of the truck, and then start working on the rust. The floor pans themselves are in pretty good condition. There's just a few places that need some patching, and I'll tackle that at some point. It's not high on my list. I just want to be able to get this running and drive it a little bit. Our area, I've found out after buying this that there's a C10 community that I had no idea about. Once I get this running, I'm gonna reach out and find out about that, because there's a lot that I don't know about this, and having that community to back me or give me information is going to be awesome. So that's it in a nutshell. I have a lot of work to get this driving and stopping safely. The engine build that I was going to do with that other block, I think I'm putting it on hold until the winter, because I can work on that in the garage. The truck I want to get running now, and hopefully get out and enjoy it while it's nice weather, because that isn't a winter car. So anyway, I am very excited, and I'm excited to share it with you guys, and I look forward to sharing what I do. If you have any advice, any information, even if you want to talk about or comment about the vehicle that you drive, I would love it. Like I said, I'm just dipping my toe in this, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So anyway, thank you for checking out the video. Watch for future videos, and I look forward to sharing it all with you guys. I will see you guys next time.